Welcome back to the Colin and Miles show. I'm Colin.
And I'm Miles, or kilometers if you're in Europe.
And this is episode 23.
Not the fake episode 23, like there was a fakey episode 22, because that was a special, followed by the real episode 22. This is the real episode 23, where we discuss some pop culture things, but as she probably will say, you probably already knew that. Welcome to the show.
Our first topic today is Picard Season 3.
I like how you say that as if it's a title. Like, oh, obviously it's a title, but you say it as if you're announcing Picard Season 3.
Yes, because this is our largest topic today.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, kind of. Yeah, it is.
So, Season 3 of Star Trek Picard is the final season of this show.
Arguably, it should be the only season of the show.
I guess. I think we needed this to make up for the last two seasons, but if we had just...
Why was that?
If we had just had this, it would have just been kind of a pity show, like, oh, we're just bringing these people back,
To put a whole bunch of political correctness to them and, contaminate the timeline in a way that makes no sense and introduce things that make no sense, introduce relationships that make no sense.
Yes, so my first thing before we talk about how much we loved Season 3 is that did we really need this show in general? Did we need Star Trek Picard? And my short answer is no, we didn't need it because their story was over. I mean, we didn't need to see them again. Not that I'm complaining, but it's just like we didn't really need it. I feel like it was a marketing tactic to get people like us who don't really like all of the new Star Treks, to come back and get involved with it, and then, they're going to take it away now.
Well, in the sense that it was a marketing ploy to get people like us attracted to Trek, I think it provided them the reality that their recipe for the new Treks through Season 2 were just pure crap. And so, therefore, returning to a storyline with some semblance to the original Star Trek series, whether it be, original series, Enterprise, Next Generation, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, whatever, is Season 3, they seem to realize, oh wait, we can't put our 2020 or 2022 spin on this and retain our old Star Trek viewers.
Yeah.
So, needless to say is, and it doesn't matter, we're not talking political bend, it doesn't matter what spectrum of the bend is, hands down, regardless of if you're a leftist or a right person, Season 3 is unequivocally better than the other two.
Yes, the plot was better. It was easy to follow, not so convoluted as Season 2 because they were all over the place.
And I appreciate some of the story arcs in Season 1 and Season 2. Mm-hmm. But when they just completely dismiss the story arc in Season 3 and provide I believe, a very decent storyline in and of itself, it's clear that they're like, okay, we messed up.
Yeah.
And the only problem I had with the storyline is I felt that it was too easy of an out. Mm. It, spoiler alert, it being the Borg, is I appreciate the, callbacks that they did for the season. However, I don't feel like once you find out it's the Borg, that it gives really enough time to cultivate, a meaningful story precipice arc, where they're at the precipice and they've got to do something. Instead, it all just, oh, well, this is, they put them back on the 1701D bridge, and, oh, look, we're going to solve everything with a ship that is a relic, but,
I mean, they had easy answers for everything. That was, even though that ship was destroyed in generations, it's suddenly been rebuilt over the years, and then, like, even though Data has died twice, spoiler alert, died twice, oh, well, they found a way to bring him back again.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, yeah.
Well, and the idea, so you learn early on about the changelings in this season, and I thought that was a decent storyline, excluding the Borg. I thought that would provide value to a larger enemy that they had to defeat, but obviously it wasn't. And one thing that I don't understand is why they utilized the changeling communication the way they did, of the changelings knew it was the Borg. But throughout the season, whenever Vedic or whatever is communicating with her boss, it's this changeling little image of a obscured face.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, did they get? I have a theory, and I just came up with this. Is they got so far in writing it because they were so excited, this is so great, and then they realized, oh yeah, it's only 10 episodes, and so they had to really, divert it, because the storyline in Deep Space Nine is, the Dominion Wars, that was well thought out, that was well curated, and it took place over a significant amount of time. They didn't always have answers for it, or you didn't find answers till 2-3 seasons later. This, you found an answer for everything immediately. And so I felt like there's a lot of backstory. And I just have to commend my favorite character of this season. And she doesn't like this.
I don't like it.
Captain Shaw. Absolutely fantastic character. And for the life of me, I cannot understand why they did not kill Raffi off, but instead killed this guy. I mean, Raffi was the most unnecessary character of the entire Picard series. Unnecessary by a long shot. You're telling me that, after Picard has this gloriful crew of, Riker, Worf, Data, Geordi, Counselor Troy, Beverly Crusher, that somehow he finds a more profound relationship with this Raffi person. And then, not to mention, Raffi has to get saved by Worf X amount of time. So clearly, the crew he had before was better than Raffi. But, let's just, not kill her off, and put her in a relationship with a, prior Borg drone, 7 of 9, which, the whole Ranger angle. Mm-hmm. I do feel that was very 7 of 9. The whole relationship with Raffi thing was definitely not 7 of 9. I don't even care. It's just, it made no sense. So they stay behind after the Borg had taken over the ship, and Shaw stays behind him as well. And you've got 3 people to pick. 3 people. 7, Shaw, and Raffi. And just to qualify Shaw is this individual who, when Picard came on the ship, he's like, no, we're not doing it. Like, he's very by the book.
We have saved the galaxy more than a few times. And hopefully they'll remember.
Or they might remember that time that someone hot dropped the saucer section of the Enterprise D on a planet. Or that time that someone threw the Prime Directive out the window so they could snog a villager on Baku. Or the time that you boys nearly wiped out all of humanity by creating a time paradox in the Devron system. Basically, when it comes to rescues from danger, you two have a real chicken and egg thing happening.
So much so that when they brought back what's her name? The Bajoran.
Roe.
Was it Admiral?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, whenever they brought back Roe, Laren, and she was destroyed by a bomb that the Changelings planted on her shuttle, and she drove the bomb into the ship that was there with the ship Picard Shaw was on, and destroyed their nacelle so they couldn't follow. This guy Shaw's like, he still doesn't get it in his head that, oh, Starfleet's under attack, until Picard says, hey, you moron, look what they just did.
Well, I didn't like him because he was rude, and because he refused to call Seven of Nine by her name that she wanted to be called, and also because he couldn't, just like Cisco in Deep Space Nine, he couldn't separate that when Captain Picard was Locutus, that wasn't him. He can't separate that the two are not the same person, and so these two people blame Captain Picard for all the things he did when he was a Borg, and I don't like that because that's not logical. He wasn't Captain Picard at that time, so you can't blame him for that.
Well, I agree, but I don't necessarily think that Shaw allowed his view of Picard to affect his command. Because, like, him calling 7 of 9 Annika Hansen, her original name, it became clear in the last episode on the performance review that he did, recommending her promotion to captain, is he does indeed call her 7 of 9. And I think that goes to speak as to, him seeing the need for Annika to truly appreciate, or 7 of 9 to truly appreciate what Starfleet represents.
No, I think he's just being a jerk.
Well, either way, they shouldn't have killed him off. They should have killed Raffi off. And then they should have given this guy a entirely separate series. I would have watched that. This guy, hats off to that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And also another thing.
Yeah.
They forgot about, it's like they totally forgot about Girardi being the Borg Queen from last season, and then they don't even explain that.
Well, we addressed that. I said that it was them admitting as much. Oh, we screwed up.
Oh, but we have to find the answers. But I don't like that. You can't just erase things that you did because you didn't like them. Amy Sherman Palladino, I'm talking to you, Gilmore Girls. You can't just erase last season because you didn't like it and you weren't there. But you can't erase stuff because you didn't like it. That's not how it works. So they needed to address it in Shaw's snide comment. He was not addressing it.
What comment did he make?
Something like, oh, you can't forget about all that stuff that happened on the Stargazer. The real Borg are still out there. But it's like since Picard was talking about the old Stargazer, that comment was kind of lost because we didn't know that Shaw was talking about Clinton last season.
It seemed to me like they brought the real writers back into the room who were just so excited to write for Star Trek again that they had to be reminded that, hey, this other group of writers really screwed it up.
I guess.
Let's move on to Shazam, Fury of the Gods, which we just saw in theater
Last month?
Yeah.
Earlier this month.
A few weeks ago, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And it was pretty good. I enjoyed the fact that they're keeping the wokeness out of it, and they it provided for another decent Shazam movie.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that in Black Adam, who's another Shazam individual, is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson won't be playing him anymore, and but anyways,
this was a good movie and family friendly, I think.
Yeah, and so there's a scene where a whole bunch of mythical creatures come to the city, and it's part of the invasion of Earth, if you will, and this little tiny black girl, adorable, is saying, talking about how much she loves unicorns, and there's this wizard there from another realm, and she says something along the lines of, oh, I love I love unicorns. And he's like, yeah, they do not love you. And then the comments made about how unicorns love, the sweet nectar from ambrosia from some place.
From Olympus. It's a food of the gods. They like ambrosia and nectar.
And so, needless to say, is this little girl has an idea of going to find these mythical creatures based on where they like to hang out in Olympus, which I guess are dark caves and whatnot. So,
is this a spoiler alert?
Yeah, it's all a spoiler alert. And so they go to this parking garage, and there's a unicorn, and it is the most menacing-looking, non-childlike unicorn. And it starts charging at this little girl, and in slow-mo, she throws up Skittles. And I'll suspend disbelief for this, but apparently, I guess Skittles are as sweet as the nectar of ambrosia. So,
no, it's not the nectar of ambrosia. Those are two separate things. Nectar is the drink, and ambrosia is the food.
Whatever. I'm not going to understand mythical stuff. So they stop in their tracks and they start eating this, and then it culminates in this little girl charging with her friends on a bunch of unicorns to fight back against these other mythical creatures, because apparently unicorns are the most feared mythical creature by other mythical creatures. Yes. And so I don't know if this is a scene or if I'm making it up in my head, but I seem to remember that as the little girl's riding on the unicorn, she says, "Taste the rainbows, mother," and that cuts out.
She doesn't say that. She just said, "Taste the rainbow," and I'll look it up right now.
No, don't. We'll look it up.
Why'd you bring this up so we could argue on camera again?
No, it doesn't matter.
It does matter. It matters to me.
Okay, well, we're going to time-lapse her looking it up. Here it is. Right here.
Taste the rainbow, motherfucker!
Oh. Okay, you're right.
Okay, so we found it, and you see how much the unicorn just doesn't look very child-friendly. But needless to say,
Miles was right.
Oh, it doesn't matter. We're moving on. But I just thought that was a very, very decent subplot.
Yeah, and it wasn't even a subplot. It was like a sub.
Yeah.
But also, that was a good marketing.
Yeah, for Skittles. Oh my gosh, yeah, right. So, moving on to a Netflix movie that came out, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Once and Always.
Yeah. So, again, this is something, did we need this? It's playing into our generation's nostalgic tendencies. Thinking
about this, no, we didn't. Secondly is, this is after, Tommy, took his own life. The Green Rangers. I can't remember for the life of me what his actual name was.
Oh! It's 3 names. It's
Joseph David Frank.
Jason David Frank.
Jason David. Anyway, so it's after he passed away.
But this was already in the works before.
Well, but I want to get to that.
Okay.
It seemed like it was less than an hour, which Netflix, they seem to have poured money into other films, but not this one. And it seems like this is just the half-baked version of what it potentially could have been, because they brought back the original Blue and original Black Ranger, but there was really the sets were decent, but the graphics and the post-production stuff seemed exceptionally lazy for a Netflix feature. And to me, this is my this is my opinion. It seems to me that because Netflix has lost so much money, they at some point cut a bunch of money from the production and said, "Oh, all right, good luck." And this is the crap we are left with.
Well, I was hoping for more callbacks from other Rangers besides just the Mighty Morphin and
they did with is they didn't have the money for that. They didn't have the money to bring back. Instead, what they did is they went to Walmart and purchased a whole bunch of action figures of stupid, like all the different brands of, Power Rangers, and then, wrapped them in this little whatever because, they've been captured. They didn't show them getting captured. They just, showed that they had that. They showed a few, but, again, these are like C-list celebrities that clearly aren't, in shape to be Power Rangers anymore. But somehow we're just supposed to accept that, this is the Power Rangers once and always. Get out of here, Netflix. Show me a real Power Rangers. I'm sorry, a YouTube channel provided a better synopsis of what Power Rangers should look like. And that was a YouTube channel of a 20-minute video and of Rita. And I can't remember what Ranger it was. Anyways, regardless, is Netflix, you're just like, someone needs to take you out to pasture.
Okay, can I talk about
Sure.
it now? So, I didn't really know, I knew about Power Rangers, but I didn't actually watch it until, later, because my brother liked them, and then I started to like them. But anyway, the point is, I thought it was a nice tribute to Power Rangers and its legacy, and and if I had maybe grown up with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, I might not have thought it was so great, but it was nice enough for me. It was nostalgic enough, not too nostalgic, and it was a nice story, but a little, too easy, I guess, of a storyline, and everything got tied up real fast, like Picard did.
Yeah, but there was some methodical writing in, Picard season 3 as, compared to this, where, it seemed like they just, were almost Talkville podcast lazy. So, well, moving on.
I need to get my book for this. I forgot to.
I'll
I need to hold it up.
just here.
No.
Where is it?
It's in my book shelf. Okay, the next topic is my book plug for our episode. I've been rereading the Twilight books, and you can make fun of me if you want, but I won't.
Who cares? It's a successful book.
And movie franchise.
So, yeah.
Anyway.
Why would you qualify that?
Not 10 years ago. For the 10th anniversary of Twilight in 2016, Stephanie Meyer wrote an anniversary edition of the book called Life and Death. And it's interesting because she did a gender swap between almost all the characters, and so it's a totally different story but the same story at the same time. And it's very it was an interesting concept, but I was kind of bored until the last few chapters. But I would still recommend that anybody who enjoyed reading Twilight, you should read Twilight Reimagined, Life and Death.
Would you just, out of my curiosity, would you say that Stephanie Meyer took a woke perspective to this?
Nope.
No? Okay.
No woke perspective.
Good. Nice. All right. Well.
And I think it wasn't as good because I think she was better at writing from Bella's perspective because she's a girl, so it's easier for us to think, oh, this is instead of writing from a guy's perspective, Bo in this, it just wasn't as intense of a love story to me.
Okay. Well, cool. So, in our last topic, as we've stated before, we do square dancing, and it was nice not to be the youngest people in the room last night. So, we
went to Shawnee Square 8's anniversary dance, which was in Shawnee.
Which it was really nice to see that they actually had the dance because 3 days prior, they had a tornado hit that building.
Mm-hmm.
And so, needless to say, it was really nice to be there. And it was themed.
Prom, like senior prom or prom night.
Yeah, and so it was very, Sunday best type. And
well, some people actually dressed up in like formal dresses, but yeah, my dress was probably like the most risque dress there.
She was so happy to show it off.
I was so happy. I have like a few dresses that it's like I never have any place to wear them, and I was so happy.
Well, I'm glad that you get to show it off. And but anyways, it was fun, and there were at least I don't know, there was half a dozen, if not a dozen, like college age kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, haha, we weren't the youngest. Oh, that's so sad. No, I'm kidding. But needless to say, it was fun, and we didn't win anything. There was drawing, but it was.
That's okay.
Yeah. It was just fun, and then But other than that, so I guess that's it for this time.
Yes. Hopefully we'll record.
Again within the next 30 days.
Sooner than we did. Sooner than we did between.
Words are hard. I know that because she made fun of me earlier for saying antenna instead of antenna, which antenna. It sounds the same coming out of my mouth. So.
All right. Well, thanks for watching.
Until next time.
I'm Colin.
Yeah, she's Colin, and I'm Miles.
Bye.